Thank you, Madam Chair. This month was highly active across the entire system, with Hurricane Lane bearing down on us during the first week of classes, followed not very far apart by Olivia visiting us. So the great news is that we had some trees down and things like that, but there was no damage to any campus and no harm to any individuals on any of our campuses. The second piece of good news is that it gave us a real opportunity to exercise with the current leadership team and communication team how we work together across our campuses and across the system. And I will say what became evident, and a number of us were on calls with the governor and the mayors and the statewide emergency managers, is the extent to which our decision making about how in particular we handle things like campus closures interacts with the other major players in the state. As an example, if one entity sends its workers home, then all the other entities think their employers don't care about them unless they're sent home also. When the DOE sends their kids home, it has impact on parents who have to look out for kids who are workers in all of the state, county, and university. The DOE has a challenge because their schools are designated as shelters in many places. So in some situations, they actually have to close schools to get ready for the schools to flip over to be shelters. So when people wonder why we take a while to make a decision, what I will say is I think we made all of our closure decisions in a fairly coordinated manner and in a timely manner for those who were impacted. And fortunately, it gave people time to prepare at home. I will also say this is an area I used to be responsible for and am happily no longer. And it's actually in better shape than I left it. So thank you, Vice President Gouveia, wherever you are, but also everybody. The calls with the chancellors and their leadership and with Dan and the communications team, I think really paid off in terms of us sending out consistent messages. The other amazing thing about this was the emergence of our newest faculty superstar. How many of you saw Alison Nugent explaining hurricanes to the public? I'm just curious. Yeah, this is, I had a meeting with the Senate president about something else, and he commented on her on TV, and it wasn't just that he was amazed at what he had done, what she had done. She stayed on the air for 5 or 6 hours explaining in layman's term what was going on. He said he was sitting in a restaurant having breakfast, and the people at the next table were talking about that UH faculty member who was explaining this stuff for the first time in language they could understand. It's one of the things we don't often appreciate that our faculty across the system are doing for the community. So I don't read horoscopes every day, but I will acknowledge that I am a Virgo. So that means my birthday is around this time. Much more notably, however, Regent Emeritus Chuck G., we celebrated his 85th birthday with a sustainable tourism forum on campus and a fundraising dinner for the Tim School. And it was a wonderful event, and thanks to those of you who were able to join. And I will just say it is clear there is life after work. Chuck looks happy and hale. And we also celebrated the 90th birthday of Ryuzo Yanagimachi. Some of you will remember Yana, probably the first UH scientist to make the front page of the Honolulu papers for his green mice. And he did amazing things. He's been the heart and soul of our Institute for Biogenesis Research for 50 years. He actually retired in 2004. And unlike Chuck, he comes to the office every day. And we celebrated his birthday with a forum seminar with international scientists coming together to celebrate his work and where it has led. And we are also, of course, launching a fundraising campaign to support that institute. If anyone's interested, we have a $500,000 target for a Yanagimachi endowment. A couple other birthdays of projects. One was the 25th anniversary of our multi-ethnic cohort study at the Cancer Center. Some of you may have seen that in the paper last weekend. Since 1993, we have been collecting data starting with about 215,000 individuals in Hawaii and California. It is the longest running such study that looks into lifestyle practices and risk by ethnic groups to understand incidence of cancer and risk factors across diet, smoking, alcohol, meat cooking, physical activity, hormones, et cetera, et cetera. These long-term studies are one of the ways that we truly understand population impact. That study has also, it's one of our largest ongoing research studies, probably in the top 5, along with a project Regent Bell had some involvement with. The Maui High Performance Computing Center is still going on as our biggest single project. The multi-ethnic cohort has been over 150 million over that 25 years. And lastly, the last birthday I want to mention is the Station Aloha and the Hawaii Ocean Time Series. That celebrated 30 years, started in 1988. We have been collecting data in the ocean initially manually and now through a cabled observatory. It now has become one of the best sampled places in the oceans anywhere in the world, with an understanding of how the ocean has been responding to climate change across temperature, acidification, and a variety of, this is run by our Center for Microbial Oceanography Research and Education. So they've also been looking at the microbiome of the ocean over this period of time. These long-running projects really give insights into the world around us and people in ways that you can't achieve with a single spot study. I won't say much about enrollment. The census date is next week, but the remarks I made last week have so far held. Almost flat as a system, Manoa up. Kauaʻi Community College is our superstar this year. Had a rough year the year before, but still we will celebrate a very large percentage increase. And even though it's a very small campus, it actually has right now the largest numeric increase in headcount students. So congratulations, Helen and team, for getting out there and reaching students. Manoa is also still looking up, which would be the first increase in 7 years for UH Manoa, our largest campus. Part of that is our diversity, and we celebrated that in yet another study where the University of Hawaii as a system is by far the most diverse public higher education system in the country, and we put out a press release with many of our campuses at the top of their categories as well. Everybody's in the top 10 across the country within their sector. Much of that is reaching out to students who wouldn't otherwise come to college, and that's how we succeed. We talked, in fact, I remember a conversation in this room some years back talking about financial aid in the FAFSA, the infamous FAFSA form, and wondering why every student doesn't fill it out. I think Regent Akopa wanted us to make it mandatory. So that's a challenge for us, but we've launched an effort in partnership with the DOE and with Hawaii P20. We have a Cash for College program to get high schools to participate. Superintendent Kishimoto sent this out in her regular email blast to encourage all of the schools and everyone in the DOE to participate. We're putting together a dashboard to show how every high school in the state is doing over time. I will say our highest performing high school, which won a contest last year, was Molokai High. So it is not necessarily the usual suspects, and it shows that we can impact through that our behavior. Waiakea is also a pretty high performer as well. It's in the top 5, along with Roosevelt, Kalani, and McKinley. The data is pretty clear on this, though. Right now, only about 60% of our high school students are filling it out. The DOE has set a target of 70% for this year and getting to 90% by 2020. We're leaving, the number we've seen so far is about $11 million on the table in federal financial aid, but FAFSA's opened up a lot of other aid as well. 9 out of 10 students who enrolled at a UH campus and completed a FAFSA got federal aid. So it is incredibly effective, and those students are more likely to go to college as well. Another aspect of diversity that I want to mention is free speech and diversity of viewpoints. We've had a pretty easy time here in Hawaii with the free speech battles that have been taking place in higher education across the country. We've had incidents and episodes, most of which we have not publicized. This week, we probably will be having some publicity. We have a couple of very high-profile Trump surrogate supporters who are brought to Honolulu by the Republican Party and are being sponsored on campus by student groups, and we do have student Republicans, Young Americans for Freedom, etc. We are protecting their right to present these speakers. It's part of what we do. We have also had events on free speech. We have within our law school faculty people with strongly opposing viewpoints about the importance of protecting free speech, and where that begins to, where one person's free speech is another person's hate speech that is perceived to create an unsafe environment. And those are the dialogues that are raging around the country, and I'm happy to have our faculty also engaged in bringing those positions clear here as well. Leeward Community College, we've talked a lot about cyber infrastructure. I don't know if you saw the signs in the breakfast room this morning about cybersecurity as well, but Leeward Community College was just recognized as an NSA Center of Academic Excellence among two-year institutions, joining Honolulu Community College, West Oahu as a four-year Center of Academic Excellence, and UH Manoa as a Center of Academic Excellence for Research. Cybersecurity is hot both for students and for jobs. And finally, let me close with a couple comments about the UH Foundation, and you'll get a report from Donna with the fourth quarter financial report for the last fiscal year. As I think all of you know, she has announced her retirement. I am working closely with UH Foundation leadership, and Regent Sullivan is also on the search committee for selection of a new CEO for the foundation. That process is underway. We have interviewed semifinalists, and we'll be bringing finalists to town next week for some quiet meetings with the search committee and some other stakeholders. And we are also working on updating the memorandum of understanding, as was discussed in the permitted interaction group discussion last week.